Well, g'day big bikers. I'm trying to get out to, there's a little clearing out there I'm trying to get to. We've just had a whole heap of rain and what happens, all the boys come out here and in their four-wheel drives chop it up. So I'm going to try and get out here without falling into a big mud hole. Yeah, I don't like my chances. Yeah. It's just sloppy mud out here. It's just terrible. Here's the mouth of the Brisbane River, and so we'd come out here and a bit of a look. Quite a popular place for fishermen out here, so let's put the bike here. Well, good afternoon, big bikers. I haven't made a video for quite some time. I've just had a crazy hectic couple of months. It's been ridiculous. I travel a lot for my kind of day job. Means I travel internationally and domestically quite a bit, so I just had quite a bit on, so I haven't really been able to, since I came back from my trip out in the desert, I haven't actually been doing that much writing or editing a video, so it's been a bit quiet. My apologies. So what I thought I'd do today is just have a little bit of a chat about the bike. The bike is now 6 months old. It looks like it's a lot older than that. I've just clicked over 10,000 kilometres on the bike, and I thought I'd do a bit of a review on the good, the bad, and the ugly. How's that go? So the bike's 6 months old. Two of those months, it was actually laid up at the insurance assessors, because when I came back from the trip out in the desert after hitting that kangaroo, you probably saw the video where I just hit a roo. Oh no! I didn't die. Holy crap! Look at this fur here. Broke my fairing. Oh, bugger. Oh, no. But ended up basically having to ride the bike with some damaged components on it. I rode about 3,000 kilometres. It wasn't until we got back from that trip and I took the bike in for its insurance assessment that they determined that the front wheel was buckled and flat spotted in a couple of different places. I'll talk about that in a little while. So that meant, and also the gold stanchions, the outer tubes were damaged. They had some scratching and some teeth marks, looked like teeth marks from a wallaby. So they had some deep gouges and scratches in them, so they were replaced as well. So getting those spare parts over from Japan took about a month for that to happen. They gave me the option to replace the front wheel with another Honda one, or if I wanted to, I could actually get a stronger one built. So I took the option to get another one built. That gold of those rims is not a standard colour, so I had to actually take my Honda rim to the wheel builder, who had to take it to the anodising guy to colour match the gold. All up, turn of the bike's been off the road for about 2 months. So of that 6 months, it's been off the road for about 2 months. So in 4 months, I've done 10,000 kilometres on this bike, which is not so bad. I've got a few trips coming up later in the year, although we are coming into our summer It's spring here at the moment. It's still about 28 degrees. I'm down by the river because there's a nice breeze blowing in from the bay. I thought what I'd do is just have a quick chat about the things on this bike that are great, the things that are not great, and the things that probably Honda, just little things that annoy me probably as much as anything else. Now, probably like you, I'm on a number of Facebook forums and online forums and Facebook groups and social media groups and that sort of stuff, motorbike related obviously, and I'm involved in a couple of the Africa Twin groups as well. So there's a lot of talk on the different forums, platforms, and lots of discussion about the Africa Twin, what they got right. Some of the things, I mean, I've only done 10,000 Ks, it's a 2017 model, I've only done 10,000 Ks, there's guys out there that have done 50, and they're kind of talking about the issues that they've had, or their experience with the bike over 2 years, so they're issues that they've had. So let's go, let's have a bit of a chat about it. So the good, well, let's just talk about this bike that Honda built. This is the 1000cc Africa Twin, that the CRF1000L, and Honda have done a terrific job with this bike. I mean, you read any review, you talk to anybody that's got one, you talk to a lot of the YouTube reviews, there's 5% of the people have a complaint here and there, or they rode it, wasn't powerful enough, so they went back and bought a Hayabusa, or some ridiculous road bike. It's a 1000cc adventure bike to attack that market. Honda bought it out to attack that market that KTM had full ownership of. Interestingly, in Australia, this is the #1 selling adventure bike after the last couple of years. In 2017 already, the next in 2007 they've already sold more of these than they have the KTM 1090 and the BMW 1200 GSA combined. So they've sold more of these than they sold more of these than they do of the DR650, KLRs, just the whole list. Everything is, the Africa Twin is selling more of them than they're selling of anything else, which is terrific. So people are embracing them. If you want to take it off-road, there's a few things you need to do, but the bike in itself as a when you buy them, they come with road tyres on, or 90/10 tyres on, and it's a great bike. It's a really, really good bike. And most people won't kind of take them off-road to the kind of extreme that maybe people who watch an adventure bike channel like this might. But that doesn't make them a bad bike. They handle really well, they go really well, the brakes are good. The suspension is a bit sus for loading it up, touring, that sort of stuff. Again, we'll talk about that in a moment. But the good with this bike is that Honda have done a really, really great job with it. Fit and finish is typical Honda. Engine quality, reliability, just all those things are there already with the bike. I mean, just by sticking a Honda badge on it, they've given it that. So, in the last couple of years, there's been no reports whatsoever of any form of reliability issues with these. There have been other issues, but no reliability issues. So there's a couple of things that I would suggest you do if you're going to take the bike off-road. If you are going to use it as an adventure bike, there's a couple of things that I would suggest you do. One of the first things is get rid of those foot pegs. Honda really didn't do anybody any favours with the stock foot pegs. They're very narrow, very small. Fortunately, you can buy these. This is off a XR600. So if you're looking for foot pegs for your Africa Twin, just do a search for XR650R foot pegs, Honda XR650R, and you can pick them up for about $20. Of course, you can buy the $200 ones from a lot of the other big brand companies, but you can just buy the El Cheapo ones off eBay, and they do a great job. I've got a cover on that, only really just because it hangs out there. When it's got the luggage on, it seems to be okay, but for $30, it just for a little bit of protection, because it is a bit exposed. That's the rear brake master cylinder cover. Bash plate, obviously. Bash plate is pretty much a must, and the crash bars as well. Now, I went with the Outback Motor Tech gear, and I went with that for a specific reason, is that they bolt together and become one unit. So up in here you've got the really the part that does all the work is that big brace that bolts the bash plate and the engine bars together. So that whole unit bolts to the bike in a couple of different places and creates a really strong brace for everything. So if anything gets hit, it basically is all bolted together to the frame. So certainly when I hit the kangaroo on this side, and that's really what buckled the wheel, when I hit the kangaroo, this bar here took the brunt of everything, broke all the plastics. This bar here copped the brunt of everything, but all the radiator and all that sort of stuff in behind it was fine. There was no damage, and as I said, I rode the bike with damaged plastics, but I rode the bike for another few thousand kilometres to get home again. That's really, knobbies. You don't need to put a high lift guard kit on. I prefer the high lift guard. I think it looks a bit better than the original, but that's personal choice. You don't need to do it. There's no performance enhancement unless you're riding a lot in mud, and there's quite a few guys out there that have had their front guards clogged up, remove their front guard so they can continue rolling the wheel. Now that's pretty much it. I mean, you don't really need to do much more to them. They're pretty much ride ready. Not tyres, obviously. Tyres, bash plate, big foot pegs just make such a difference. Foot pegs make such a difference. Bark busters, you don't need to do them, but the stock ones that come with it are just flimsy little plastic ones. So if you do eventually drop the bike, that's going to provide a lot more protection for clutch levers and all your top of your bike. Give it something to rest on rather than the handlebars. So I put an aftermarket exhaust on. You don't need to do that. The bike itself, with a few modifications, becomes a really good off-road bike. That's the good thing about it. I mean, it handles well, it goes well, good brakes, okay suspension. For a bike that's at a price point it's a whole lot of bike for the money. So that's the good. What's the bad with it? Well, it's that suspension. This bike was built to a budget. The bike was built to a market spot. Honda were really aggressive with their pricing, and so they had to, I say, cut a few corners, but it was built to a price. It wasn't built to a spec level. So suspension on it is obviously a weak point. You don't need to go reading very far on the social media or the internet anywhere to find that most people kind of find the limit of the suspension on their bikes once they load them up. If you're going to do any touring or long range stuff, your suspension it's really going to be noticeable. Now, it's not unique to the Africa Twin, my cross tourer, and again a Honda, but there's a lot of manufacturers out there that bring their bikes out with suspension that's okay for 70 kilo riders and 20 kilos of baggage. But once you start putting big guys and two people or lots of gear, then you kind of really need to be looking at doing some suspension improvements. It doesn't almost matter what bike it is. Even the BMWs get a $5,000 Öhlins upgrade option that you can take. So that'll be the next thing I do, is I'll upgrade the suspension on the rear of this. I'm not unhappy with the way it dampens. Rebound's not bad, but it's just a little bit soft when it's fully loaded. So I might just see if I can get a heavier spring. The front, I'm pretty happy with the front. Tends to bottom out a bit, but I might just go up some heavier springs and just revalve it as well. But the front on this is actually not so bad. I don't mind. Again, that's just me, my riding style. As I said, built to a budget. I didn't know until I came back from the trip out west that my wheel was damaged. As I said, buckled from the kangaroo impact and flat spotted in a few places. I mean, we hit quite a lot of potholes and cattle grid, and just different. It's a rough road. So the wheel was buckled in a few spots and flat spotted in a few spots and buckled. So I've had it's an XL rim and a Haynes hub, and I've got some heavy duty spokes on there. So these are the heavy duty spokes. You probably can't tell the difference in diameter. They're 2mm. They're not, and they're just they're just cheap. So the rims were built down. The DID rims, they're built down to a price, not to a spec one. They're safe. They're probably for most people they're probably okay. Don't go hitting kangaroos, and you'll probably be all right. Like I said, I rode the bike back with a buckled wheel. I did have a bit of a wobble at about 140 kilometres an hour, and I wasn't sure quite what it was, so I just kept it under 140 kilometres an hour coming back from out west, but it must have been the buckled wheel. The biggest issue with these is just the fact it was built down to a budget. So they didn't sacrifice on engine. The engine's a good strong Honda engine and will be a good 300,000 kilometre engine, no problem at all. But as I said, just be aware that there's quite a lot of talk on the forums about the quality of the spokes. So just be aware of the fact that you may have to at some stage in the future either upgrade your spokes, or if you do a lot of off-roading, just keep an eye on those wheels, because whilst it might look like the same colour, that's now the XL rim. That's the heavy-duty rim, heavy-duty spokes, heavy-duty hub, and better bearings. The other things that people are talking about while we're talking about bearings, they're saying that the rear bearings have a tendency to fail after 25 to 30,000 Ks. So keep an eye on that. Again, warranty issue. Honda haven't really had any problems with that. Let's go and have a look at some of the things in the cockpit that I think they could have done better. There's a couple of things that are a little bit annoying for me. Actually, I'll put it up on the centre stand. There we go. Alright, so if you're going to take this thing off-road, I would suggest you put some protective tape, obviously tank protector, or protect strap or tape of some sort down the side. Let's go over here, it's a bit more light. So I've got tape down here. This is when you're standing up and manoeuvring on the bike, you get mud and dirt up the inside of your pants. It's actually going to just tear that inside of that tank to pieces. So just get some protection on there, and that's going to look after your tank. One of the things that I didn't like about this bike when I first got it, this is just ugly. It's not a problem. It's not a performance issue. It's just little things that I didn't like about it when I first got it. You see across the handlebar here, I've got some black tape. That's because you get a direct reflection on the dash. You get a silver reflection on the dash. So put black tape around. I put black tape around it so I couldn't see that reflection. The other thing is these cables. Just when you're riding, they could have been routed a little bit differently. I get it. They're there for a reason. That's all cool. Apart from that, that's this bike, and I got to tell you, the 10,000 kilometres I've done on this, I love it to bits. It's just a fantastic machine. I've named this bike, as you know, probably from watching some of my other earlier videos, I've named this bike Mrs. Jones, because we got a thing going on. Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Jones. We got a thing going on. Got a few faults, It's not as you take it. It's not the perfect bike. But you can personalise it. You can modify it. You can make some changes to it that make it just a really nice bike to ride, and a real true long range adventure bike. I say long range, probably one of the other things that Honda might have done a bit better is give it another 4 or 5 litres. I love this bike. The good, the bad and the ugly. There you go. That's my review of this bike after 10,000 Ks. I can't fault it. There's a few things you probably need to do to personalise it and just make it yours and just fix up some of those things. So that's it. As the sun sets slowly in the west, it's the good, the bad and the ugly, isn't it? There's in the western, just as the sun sets over the desert. Not quite that bad, but there's another couple of hours of sunlight there. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Sorry for taking so long to get the series out. I know YouTube, you're supposed to put one out every couple of weeks, every couple of days, or every day, depending on who you are. But I hope you enjoy the video. If you've got any questions, obviously put them in the bottom, and I'll do my best to answer them. But like I said, there's so many reviews, there's so much information out there about the Africa Twin. This is a really popular bike. It's gone global really quickly. They're all over the place, and they're getting great reviews from everyone. So after I finished that video down by the river, riding home, just taking my time through the traffic, and I thought of one of the modifications I made to this bike that I didn't talk about is really kind of important. And that modification is the gearing. If you have a listen to my introduction to the Africa Twin video, if you have a listen to that, the early part of it where I'm riding this with the factory gearing in, you can hear it take off from the lights, and it's really labouring and really just tending to bog down. Not a lot, but one of the comments that was made by someone, car out of the road. Alright, so one of the comments that was made by a couple of guys on the Facebook group who have done quite a lot of off-roading on there. So one of the comments they made was that when the bike is fully loaded, all the camping gear, like all the gear, and you're riding in soft sand or in dirt on steep hills, the gearing's actually just a bit too high. And so what they recommended was just going down one cog at the front. Now it's a bit easier to go down at the front because on the rear you've actually got to take that rear sprocket off, take all the wheels out, but you go up two at the rear if you're going to do it, but going down one at the front has the same effect. Now really all you got to do is just take off the gear changer. That just swings out of the road. There's a bolt there, take that cover off. That cover comes off really easily in here. You don't need to change the chain length, you don't need to do anything apart from just adjust the tyre or adjust the chain back to its normal tension, and you've gone down to gear at the front. The bike just rides so much better off-road because it's just a little bit lower geared, and it pulls wheelies a bit better. But it just, when you're starting off in soft sand and you're fully loaded, or you're going up a steep hill off-road, or you just want a little bit a lower gear, then that's just one of the best ways to do is just drop a cog at the front. I'll get the details of the cogs that I've got and put it in here. But look, again, that just transforms the bike. Now the only thing that it does is actually just knocks the speedo out a little bit, just a few percent. But if you've had your bike, you've probably already noticed it a little bit out anyway. So it doesn't, strangely enough, it doesn't change the odometer. It just changes the speedo. So the sensors must come off two different things. I've got to do some research on that. Anyway, that's it. I'm out of here. I better get going. But thanks, guys, and look forward to catching up in the next video series. Thanks for watching.